Now I'm live. Okay. Doing it through StreamYard today. Give that a shot. Blow this thing up. Give it a minute. See who pops in. Didn't do any announcements for this one. Kind of off grid for the week, if you noticed. Not quite so many videos. Although I will say I did an excellent chop up with a guy by the name of What Up, Man? What Up, Hellfighter? Did an excellent chop up with Alpha Kingdom over on Alpha Kingdom's channel and Alpha Villains. Those are some cool dudes, man. I got a chance to meet them in person over at Miami. We had to get together. You know, real recognizes real, and those are some real dudes right there. So yeah, as I grow my stuff, I'm definitely gonna make sure. Not, I mean, they might grow faster than I do, and that's fine too, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to support guys like that, what they do, regardless of how big or small their channels are. It doesn't matter to me, if a guy is new and he has 100 subscribers, or if he's, been in the game for a while and has 1 million subscribers. I'm going to treat them based on the content that they provide and on whether or not they're a good person or not, right? Whether or not they're real and a good person and cool to work with. And those guys are cool dudes, man. And they have really deep insights that you just don't see in the men's health space. So I was happy to be on there. If you guys want to see, if you missed me this week, I haven't been doing a whole lot on my own channel, but if you want to watch that, we chopped it up pretty good. There's a lot of really good things on becoming a high value man is basically the topic. So that's over there, Afi Kingdom's channel. Go check that out. And then tomorrow I'll be on Rule Zero. I'll post it on my socials, but it'll be over, I think, on Rich Cooper's Entrepreneurs and Cars. Will be over there. So check that out too. But in the meantime, obviously subscribe to me here. If you need a consult, go to apexmindset.net. We'll get you booked. And yeah, and hit that notification bell. Watch YouTube, man. Sometimes they unsubscribe it or unhit that notification bell for whatever reason, and you won't get a notification. So if you're not getting notifications, maybe take the bell off and then hit it again, just to see if that works. That way we can get on live like this and y'all can answer questions, get questions answered, live on whatever. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, but otherwise we'll get into the topic today, which is the dangers and pitfalls of pickup artistry. All right. So we're usually doing Get the Girls Fridays. All right. That's where I tell you guys how to get girls. It's a lot of fun. That's what we do on Fridays. And this is definitely related to the topic because I have to heed some warnings out here. These are pitfalls that I was not immune to. I fell into some of the pitfalls that I'm going to mention. And it's just something that can happen. All right. And I've had this question before too, like, so is there a danger for men racking up high notches? Right. And that's the thing, because we know when women rack up high notches, that creates a problem for them. Problem when it comes to pair bonding, right? A problem when it comes to having healthy long-term relationships. Now, the statistics don't demonstrate that men have the same problem. In other words, men are not reporting dissatisfaction and ending relationships in a way that's correlated to their notch counts. You know what I mean? And so we got the theories in terms of neuroscience, but then we also have the results on, and what we see is that women are reporting unsatisfactory relationships, cheating, and initiating breakups or divorces at a rate higher that correlates with their notch count. So the higher the notches, after a certain point, they kind of cut the number off after a bit, but after a certain point, the higher the notches, it would seem the less capable of that woman making a relationship successful, because she's, higher her notches go, the more unhappiness, breakups, or cheating it gets reported. That does not correlate the same with men. In other words, men do not have that same problem, right? So men are capable, and then there's a neuroscience aspect to that too, and an evolutionary psychology aspect to that too. So men can bang a bunch of women because that was our mating strategy and still be pair bonded to somebody in a healthy relationship. That said, that doesn't mean there's there's no other pitfalls. Just because from a neuroscience perspective, okay, like a neurological perspective, that doesn't have the same effect as it does on women. Just because some of that data doesn't show that same effect, that doesn't mean that guys who rail through a lot of notches don't run into some problems later or couldn't have potential pitfalls. They essentially could. And it's not just the notches, but it's the approach of pickup artistry as well. Now, understand, I'm not slamming on guys who teach pickup, because it's an important skill. Knowing how to get a girl to like you and to be attractive, not be unattractive, and get girls to want to, be on dates with you is an important aspect to having healthy relationships in your life with women, whether they're casual or something more, right? So I'm not sitting here, on some high horse saying don't learn pickup skills. I teach pickup skills, so that would be ridiculous. And I'm not about to come here and admonish myself for teaching you guys pickup skills. That would be crazy. But I think I'm doing you a disservice, though, if I don't illustrate the pitfalls of being too focused on getting laid and getting the girls. All right. So here's what happens. And this is more or less the discussion of it. All right. We have an innate drive to want to procreate and to solve a reproductive problem. It's a deep existential threat for a man to not be able to do that. It's a deep existential need to know that he's capable of doing that. All right. And so that is one of our major drives. Men will sacrifice themselves and their well-being for the need to procreate or the need to fuel that instinct. Men will throw away their marriages to cheat with a secretary. They will throw away the stability they have in their home with a great woman to bang some random girl to prove to themselves and to feed that drive that, yes, I could mate and procreate if I wanted to. That is a part of our innate drive. Okay. Now, in order to have long-term success in life, we have to take these innate drives and steer them in a productive direction. So if you're a dude who's in a monogamous relationship and you're happy with that, that's what you want, and you're happy with the person you're with and all this stuff, and then you go bang your secretary, you're compromising your entire lifestyle, right? And you're breaking your boundaries for what? For an innate drive, all right? That's not really going to help your long-term success if that secretary happens to be BPD, goes crazy, keys your wife's car, and and now you're dealing with a divorce, a breakup, losing half your stuff, access to your kids, and the woman that you actually are in love with, but you banged a secretary, right? Well, so we have to do things and condition our behaviors so we use our innate drives to our advantage rather than our disadvantages, okay? We have innate drives for different things that could steer us into our innate drives are designed for short-term survival and short-term success and short-term mating. We could steer ourselves into the wall, essentially the loser wall as men, by just responding to those innate drives, feeding immediate dopamine hits, and not having long-term planning, right? So what does long-term planning require? Well, long-term planning isn't just setting up a goal, but it's setting up action steps and a design for your life where you utilize those innate drives to project yourself to having the life that you design and you want. If you're a traditional conservative who's Christian and which I guess that would be part of that, or a Muslim person, you want a monogamous marriage and a wife and kids and a house on the hill, that's fine. But you have innate drives that will pull you against that if you not think about those things, become intentional about those things, point those innate drives in the right direction, you won't get the long-term success that you design for yourself. So that is the thing we need to look at. So what's this comment here? Apex Mindset, sup, Paul, my no shame having internet associate in the chat. Yes. I don't know. All right. Another comment. PUA game will get women in bed, but will not retain them for an LTR. 100% correct. You know what I think I can do now? I can show the comments. Oh my God. I press a button and it shows. That's right there is a truth bomb. Okay. And that's what we are going to get into. All right. So what normally happens, okay, is that pickup artists are trying to solve their reproductive problems, something that they haven't been able to do to their satisfaction prior to. If they were able to solve the reproductive problem to their satisfaction, they wouldn't be learning pickup skills, right? And so that's fine. Okay, so they go, they're like, I'm not getting the type of women I want. I'm not getting the types of sex I want. I want more access to women. I want hotter women. I want, good, whatever. How do I solve this? Right now, most guys who lean to pickup, including pickup artists themselves, are doing terrible with women. I got into pickup because I was not doing well with women. All right. I was a good looking guy and I had a lot of alpha traits, but I didn't know how to apply that to seduce women. So what did I do? I started learning those skill sets. That's what brings people there. Right. And this is my version of this is, probably about 20 years ago or more than that. It was a long time ago, but that is what it is. All right. And, I'll throw that up there too. There is no shame in my game. This can be good or bad sometimes. All right. And so anyway, so these guys, they gravitate towards these pickup artists. Now, here's the thing though. You start learning these skills, it becomes a game, because in order to learn to get away from the anxiety, because you understand it's an existential threat to not be able to mate. So when you go to approach women and talk to women, there's a level of anxiety that comes into play for almost all men, because if they fail and get rejected, that signifies not being able to mate. So understand 60% of men in our history did not have offspring. And most of that was because they did not have access to women. So they were not selected by women, and the dominant males of the tribe would not let them mate with women. So they were unselected. If you were rejected in tribal times, okay, that meant you could be rejected by all the women in your tribal circle, and that meant you were done. You were likely not going to have mating access for most, if not the rest of your life, and certainly not access to mating during ovulation where offspring would happen. So this is the incel scenario, has been going on for a very long time, all the way back in our history. And it's a massive threat to a man and his well-being. All right. So guys are going from this, they're not doing well with women. So they start to get themselves out there. They want to reduce that anxiety. And that's a major threat to their existence, right? Not being able to get women. And so then they start learning these skills. But in order to kind of overcome that anxiety, what happens? You have to disassociate. So now, instead of making real connections on a social level, like another human being would, all right, it becomes a game. These people become objects. The women become avatars on your dating apps. The women you're meeting become just more or less things that you're more or less practicing skills on. You see what I mean? So now we start to disassociate the human element of what we're doing, because we're now playing this game. All right. And so it fuels, we'll call it narcissistic cluster B behavior. Not that you guys are that, not that pickup artists are that, not that I was that when I was, picking up on women. But we all have a tendency. If you look at the DSM and you look at any of the cluster B personality disorders, those are all traits anyone would have. It's just that they don't have them to such a heavy degree that it's a personality disorder. You know what I mean? Having a strong sense of self isn't narcissistic. Having a inflated sense of self in absence and to the demise of other people would be an extreme, would be taking that characteristic and making it into a diagnosable condition. You see what I mean? And so we all have the potentiality to fall into behaviors that would be in line with like a cluster B element. I mean, we see it with women during breakups. All right. When a woman is finally done with a guy, she can behave very sociopathic towards that guy. We see it in divorce and all that stuff too. Guys can do the same thing too, can't they? All right. That's probably not gender specific, is it? And so yeah, it's hard to remember that there's this human element and that this other person's a human being, that the people you're connecting to are human beings. and that you're a human being too, and that, you know, to have some compassion and empathy for all of these people that you're talking to, while at the same time setting your boundaries and overcoming approach anxiety and being okay with rejection. You know, so that's the trick. The real strength is being okay with rejection, being okay with making a human connection, you know, and not turning it into a game where these people are no longer people. All right. And so now the pickups, the dates, the texts, they're not real people. And then the date, you're going on several dates. They're still not real people because you're focused on technique. You're focused on game rather than focus on making a human connection. And then that extends into the lay. So now you're having sex and you're probably figuring out, how can I perform better sexually? That becomes a game too. And as you can see, this all becomes very self-centered and gamey, and it puts you at the center, and it doesn't put this other, which is fine to be on your mental point of origin, right? But it's benevolent self-interest, meaning that you're still benevolent to other people, right? You still have kind of a Hippocratic oath, even if you're not a doctor, which is do no harm to other people. Right? That doesn't mean you make someone else's decisions your responsibility. Doesn't mean you make someone else's problems your problems, but it does mean that you're not out damaging people or damaging yourself by treating other people like objects. This is where the pickup industry, if not checked, and I'm not saying every pickup artist is this guy either. I'm not saying everyone who's teaching pickup skills is a terrible person. So get that out of the way. And I'm not saying don't learn pickup skills, but I'm just giving you the trap, the pitfall that you can run into with focusing on these skills. And there's more to cover here. But if you don't understand the trap behind this and the pitfall, you will find yourself screwed up later on. And that's what we don't want to have happen. You will find yourself struggling to make your relationships work later on. Just to quote, where did it go? To quote Viking Paradigm again, yes, a game will get you women in bed. PUA game, sorry, will get you women in bed, but will not retain them for an LTR. And some of you guys are like, well, I don't need an LTR. Fine, but you want good casual relationships, don't you? You want to have good positive experiences with women, even if it's just sexually. So it still applies. Like, even if you're just spinning plates, even if you're just having casual relationships as you're focusing on your purpose, dude, that's totally fine. But let's not get it twisted. Most of you guys listen to me right now, and most of these guys going into pickup artistry want a girlfriend, want an LTR. Some of them want to get married. They may not understand the paradigm of how marriage is broken in the West, but they want that. They want that long-term relationship. Most guys want that. So let's not get it twisted. All right. Just because you don't, that doesn't mean that other people don't. Right. And so they get involved in pickup, and they sacrifice. Same problem with women running through a hoe phase for different reasons. Women run through their hoe phase, sacrificing their abilities to have long-term success in relationships. Men run through women and start getting into the pickup game, sacrificing their abilities to be successful in long-term relationships. You see what I mean? And so that's a huge issue right there, is treating people like objects. But okay, so how does this affect you though? Well, it affects you because you start to see too some different elements of society and women. It makes you very untrustworthy and difficult. You have difficulty in having outcome independence in your relationships. So when you're running through women and they're cheating with you and they have boyfriends and husbands at home, right? They're calling their boyfriend and calling their husband who's home with the kids, telling them how much they love them before they go for round 3 on your D. You know what I mean? When you start to recognize how easy it is to just use some NLP type skills to persuade women into the bedroom like that, as if they have no agency for themselves. You start seeing how easy this stuff is. You start to really get a negative view of women and negative view of relationships. It really starts to cloud things because you're only seeing one side of the picture, which is women doing ratchet behavior for short-term lays. All right. Most of the girls you hook up with and pick up are doing ratchet stuff themselves to get laid, and they're doing ratchet things in their relationships, right? It's kind of like this. It's kind of like when a cop is responding to domestic violence all day long, not domestic, but domestic disputes is what I mean to say, all day long, every day, and dealing with D-bag behavior all day long, every day. And then that cops tends to think that all people are D-bags. Cops are dealing with liars all day long, people who lie perpetually. A cop has to face the fact that everyone lies. That's a hard pill to swallow. Everyone lies. I lie, you lie, everyone lies, one way or another. It doesn't mean that everyone's dishonest. It doesn't mean that nobody has integrity, but in different circumstances, different times, people say things. They lie to themselves. You know what I mean? Even the most honest person in the world might lie to themselves. Okay. That's a hard pill to swallow. And as a cop, you run into that. I'm not a cop or anything, but I'm just my law enforcement friends. They run into that all day, every day. And then they have an attitude and a mindset that everybody's a piece of crap. You see what I mean? Like when you look at a little sliver of society and then you just inundate yourself with that, that's a problem. It's a garbage in problem. I ran into this, being hyper vigilant about danger, working for a medical examiner in Detroit, going to crime scenes and responding to murder scene after murder scene and handling dead bodies and assisting the investigators, watching all of these, people who are just murdered in Detroit for different reasons, makes you skewed in your view of what the world is, because it's you're only getting that perception. Well, pickup artistry puts you in touch with a lot of ratchet ass women, and you're only getting that perception too. So that's what, and it doesn't happen when you learn pickup skills and start being successful with women. You don't necessarily fall into that trap, but it's when you start getting involved in the game part of it, where it becomes a game and it becomes a contest for yourself to see how many matches you can get, to see how many girls you can get on dates, to see how many lays you can get. These guys that are tracking their notch counts and touting that up as the pinnacle of success, they're focused on the wrong thing, because now these people are objects. It's a very narcissistic thing to focus on, because now these people are nothing but a notch, a number, right? That's real problematic, because now that's your focus. And by having that focus and doing that, it exposes you to ratchet behavior, and it trains your body and mind to manipulate people with no human connection. You start training yourself to have cluster B behaviors, even if you're not a cluster B personality disorder. And then you have to learn how to shut that off in order to have healthy relationships with people and good human connections, and to have empathy and to have good experiences with other people. And this is why you see these pickup artists failing in their relationships all the time, because they don't have the skills to make that connection. And if you can't make that connection, then you can't hold frame. You know what I mean? In order for you to have frame, you have to be able to to really do it. You have to be able to have a connection and empathy for the other person. Now, that includes like those guys who are cult leaders. They got frame too. They're very evil, but they end up making a connection to at least initially pull that person in. And I'm not saying to be a cult leader, but it's just it's a requirement though, in order to be successful, right? And pickup artistry teaches you to disconnect from that in order to learn how to have game. The better response would be to learn how to handle your own anxieties and approach anxieties without treating people like objects, and without treating things like it's a game, and like people's lives don't matter as you're doing this stuff, right? And again, you have a Hippocratic oath, man. If you're going to go sleeping with people, you kind of have a responsibility to a degree to do no harm. All right. So you don't want to they're responsible for their own decisions. If they're going to decide to have sex, whether it's going to be you with somebody else anyways, I'm not saying don't have sex with them, but I'm saying you need to be aware of what you're doing and not manipulating people or pointing them in the wrong direction, then hurting people along the way. Because if you do that, that's going to weigh on your conscience. If you're not a psychopath or a sociopath, that will weigh on your conscience and be problematic later as well. Let's see other pitfalls. It makes you realize how dishonest human beings can be, and how easily manipulated humans are, how easily swayed women are by their instincts, and how grossly unaware and not self-aware most people are in general, particularly women, when they're making main decisions. This makes you hyper vigilant and jealous in your relationships. This causes you to wonder, you know that you were with women who had boyfriends at home and they didn't even tell you about it and they didn't care. And you wonder if your girl is just going to on one random night do that to you. You wonder if her previous notches were something that she thinks about when she's in the bedroom with you. You have an anxiety you can't trust, and now you're looking for confirmation bias that this chick is going to F you over, just like the chicks that were with you when you were doing your pickup game F their boyfriends over. That's another negative consequence too. Again, it goes back to seeing all the negatives and stuff out there and then not, not being able to, there's positive. All right. So it's objective, right? There's positive things out there too. There's things that are not so negative. There's women who don't cheat in circumstances where they could. There's a lot of good crap out there. It's like watching the media or news. There's good news, there's bad news. But if you focus on the bad news, the world's falling apart. And that's kind of what happens in the sexual marketplace for you. And then you end up applying those things and you have to now deal with retroactive jealousy and anxieties and problems in relationships. I've had to deal with that on my own, and I've had to help other people deal with that after they went through a strand or their male hoe phase of just picking up on women and treating them like objects. So there, and then I would say a final thing I guess to mention, the problem with a pickup, right, is that women become now your validation point and your mental point of origin during the time you're doing that. This happened to me. It went back in that time period. Take a little sip of coffee here. Then I'll read some comments. All right. So this happens to men. Okay. When they start, because they think of it like this: existential threat is I can't mate. Existential problem is I don't have mating access. They seek out a way to solve that problem. They start solving that problem. Now they have an anxiety of losing that ability. All right. Doesn't matter how many notches they have sometimes. Doesn't matter how many, if they get in a healthy relationship, they get an anxiety about losing the ability to be able to get women. Guys who go through that midlife crisis, part of that can be part of it. When they've traded in their sexual market value for some wife and her imperative, and they turn around, they realize they're miserable in their own life. And they also realize, and their wife isn't attracted to them, isn't banging them, what do? They start dressing different, tanning, and buying a Corvette, right? And they start talking to younger women. Why do they do that? Because they want to know, they realize that, okay, I don't feel like a man. I need to solve my reproductive problem. That's going to give me that sense of security. If a man cannot solve his reproductive problem or doesn't believe he can, he will not have a sense of security. He will not have a sense of being the alpha man. And so this can make you, when you make women your own mental point of origin, this can be addicting, where you have a constant need to validate yourself through women liking you. This makes you, you're flirting with women all the time. You're talking with women all the time just to make sure that you're retaining that ability to have sexual access if you wanted it, right? Instead of being calmly confident knowing that you could, right? It's independent of a partner. Like, even if you're single, you should be calmly confident and know that you can get women when you want to, because you have the skills, because you've done it before, so on and so forth. You're not needing to prove anything to anybody, not to yourself or not to anybody else, right? And so what guys have problems letting that go. When you see guys, and it's a very common thing where guys will have inappropriate interactions with women away from their partners, and they're not even intending on hooking up with those women, and they care about their partners. But the problem is it's feeding kind of an addictive thing, is what it becomes when you're doing pickup artistry. You become addicted to validating that instinctual side of you that needs to know that you can have mating access. And so you don't want to become addicted to that and having women become your mental point of origin there. And I will tell you from a perspective, which is why I don't bill myself as a pickup artist, a big part of it. So I got so good at pickup back in the day that I was just railing through women, doing whatever I wanted, but I wasn't accomplishing anything. I was literally living in different people's houses. I was like a male whore. I would live in some chick's house and for a day or two, you know, and then I'd go to somewhere else. I didn't do this for a long time. This is when I first separated from a marital situation, and I was just running through women. And was my business successful then? No. Was I impacting the world in a positive way? No. I was creating good sexual experiences for different women. That's what I was doing, and for myself, and feeding an empty, bottomless ego, right? And it's interesting too, dude. Like, the more driven you are as a person and the more competitive you are, if you get into stuff like this, you're like all in. If you're like me, where you're really competitive, like it's hard for me just to do like one jujitsu class a week. If I start up with jujitsu again, I'm going to be in there 5 days a week, you know, or longer. I mean, it starts to consume me. Okay. When I start doing, you know, boxing and stuff, it's hard. It's hard for me just to hit the bag and then go home and just do it for fitness. It starts consuming me because I have a really competitive streak about me. This is a great quality. Some of you guys who have that, it could be a very alpha good quality. Now, what happens if you get into pickup is you start applying that to the pickup thing. You see how this could be a pitfall and a problem, right? And so then you're not accomplishing anything other than banging hoes. Banging garden tools is not an accomplishment, gentlemen, right? Getting some dumb girl who's 21, 22 to like you because she's 21 and 22 and she's got, you know, looks hot and smells nice isn't a big accomplishment. I don't care, you know. Now, okay, you're a 45, 50-year-old guy who's never gotten a 25-year-old to like you at your age, and that happens. You feel like you're on cloud 9, right? Because it's that instinct that you're stimulating that says, oh, cool, I'm still viable mating stock, right? Okay, cool, man. I'm not saying don't get that girl to like you, but at the end of the day, who cares what some dumb girl thinks, right? Like, who cares what some dumb girl thinks? That includes your girlfriends and your wives too, to be honest with you. Who gives a crap? You know what I mean? Like, it's not the most alpha thing in the world, is it? And hey, even guys who are seen as alpha males can make this mistake. I'm one of them. Made that mistake many times, you know? And so it's like, it doesn't matter what some dumb girl thinks about you or whether she likes you or not. But see, when you get caught up in this whole pickup thing, because of your instinct to want to solve a mating problem, women can become your validation point, mental point of origin, and then you're not accomplishing anything else. Now, understand, guys that build themselves as pickup artists, they're building that to be the solution to a lot of your problems. They're not the solution to most of your problems. All right. Pickup skills is a solution to one problem only, which is being able to pick up on women. All right. There's some skills that might carry over, such as social skills and confidence. But to be real, that's not the best way to develop it. That shouldn't be your only way of developing those skills. We'll put it like that, because if that's your only way of developing those skills, you're going to run into the pitfalls, I'm telling you. All right. So that about covers it. And I'll go through some of the comments and questions. But look, I'm not saying don't pick up on women. We'll do next Friday. We'll pick back up with Get the Girls Friday and picking up on women and making that turn into a thing for you, because it's a critical skill. But understand, and I almost want to pin this video when I get the playlist on pickup. I want to pin this one. It's going to be my first video. You have to understand the pitfalls of becoming too focused on women. Some of you guys, and I can relate to this, have a lot of trauma and a lot of damage and a lot of stuff that is broken inside of you, that's damaged inside of you. And you're trying to use notch count and vagina to feel better about that. You're trying to use vagina to overcome deep trauma and insecurity. And guess what? Vagina will never solve your problems. Okay? Vagina is good for like two things: to put stuff in it and to shoot things out of it. That sounded really weird. Babies and your penis. All right, and feeling good. But I don't mean to trivialize it, obviously. But you get what I'm saying. You know, vagina is not going to solve your deep-rooted problems and issues. And so what I'm doing with my brand, because I am focused on helping you guys, is I have to constantly tailor and tweak where I want my focus to be. I'm very good with game and pickup skills, and I'm still going to share that with you guys. But understand that my pickup skills that I'm going to tell you guys and teach you are not going to be shallow skills that treat things too much like a game and people too much like objects. In fact, the real essence of pickup skills is being able to have a connection with a person. And I don't mean that in some weird esoteric sense, okay? But I mean behavioral, social, emotional connection with someone, having empathy for that person and understanding and care for that person. That's the essence of real strong game and pickup. Because even if that girl rejects you, it's fine, you don't care, but she's still a human being. Yeah. Even if that girl has a lot of problems and she's toxic, all right, you set your boundaries, you don't let her into your life, you don't care about what she thinks of you, but she's still a person, and you still respect that and would want her to do better in her life. When you have that really good connection and she's a good option for a sex partner, for short-term casual dating, for, even for something long-term, right? You need to have that connection with that person in order to be successful. If you don't, it's going to be a miserable relationship based on transactions and based on narcissistic needs, hers and yours. Without that real connection, it's going to be a challenge and a competition to filling short-term narcissistic needs between two people. It's not a real solid relationship. You can't be in a bubble with that person where it's you and her, or even however the structure is, right? You and your partner or partners where you're unique and you're facing the world together. You can't do that if you don't allow for that empathy and that real human connection. And that is the essence of game. The essence of game is having a strong sense of self, so far so that you're not insecure or worried about yourself, and you can just focus on the other person and enjoy the presence of that other person and enjoy learning about that person, learning about yourself and that connection. And then wherever it goes, right? But that's the essence or starting point of really strong pickup and game. That's what's going to take you next level beyond stupid pickup lines, closers, bullshit, techniques, shit test techniques, cocky, funny, this, that, how should I do this and say that? It's not that techniques are bad, but if it's not backed by essence, by internal solid framework, it's all BS, man. It's all BS. It might get you laid, but there's a lot more to life than getting laid. And I know if you're not getting laid right now, that seems like, no, I need to still solve this problem. I need to get laid. I get it. But dude, you'll get laid more than you ever want to. And you'll make better connections with people if you approach this in the right way. And so as I teach you guys pickup and teach you guys skills with women, that's going to be the focus. Now, if you're got a ton of personal problems, if you're listening to me and you're like that cluster B crazy, antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder guy, you're not going to even notice that I'm talking about you right now when I said that. You won't even be aware of it, and you're going to use the skills, and you're going to hurt people, and that's going to suck. Okay, and I'm sorry about that. That's only a small percentage, yeah. All right. What I don't want to do is make people into more narcissists. I don't want to make more narcissists and more pathological behaviors out there by taking normal people who have trauma, insecurities, and problems, and then putting them down a path where they behave like a pathological person. That's what I don't want to do, because that's not going to help that individual person. Their life will eventually crumble, or they'll meander through life and things won't go well for them. And they're going to hurt a lot of people along the way, right? That's not what, there's a lot of power in teaching guys on how to handle women in relationships and how to get women, how to seduce women. There's a lot of power in that. And I'm in this position, and I'm not going to fuel that sort of thing. If a guy takes it there, he takes it there. I can't do anything about it. But I'm not going to take a normal person who's looking to me for advice, who's looking to me for the game skills that I have that are impeccable, that gets you results. I mean, the stuff I teach you will get you results. They will get you laid, but they will also get you more than that. All right. And they will get you laid, but and they won't make you dysfunctional. At least that's the goal now on my channel. And I hadn't had that clarity the entire time I've had this brand. You know, as I grow what I'm doing with you guys, as I consult with more people, as I have my own obstacles in my own life I have to overcome, I'm going to improve and evolve, not just with myself, but with how I'm presenting information, what I'm doing. So this is actually a really important video. Thank you to you guys for jumping on. Hit that like button. You know, if you like what I'm saying, whatever, hit it. But this is really important to me, at least, and hopefully to you guys too, to get this out there. And I'm going to have this playlist. I got Brittany doing, my assistant, doing playlists for me. Those will start coming up soon. We'll have one on pickup, and I'm going to want this video to be pinned at the top, even though it's not a concise video because it's live. All right, I'll go through some of the things in the chat here, and then I got to bounce because I got a client waiting on me. Okay, so let's see. What is once? So we got a comment here. I don't know if I want to show it yet. I'll read it first. Once in college, a guy I knew was wearing one of those 90s wrist slap bracelets as a conversation piece. It worked because I saw the bracelet and got talking and went home that night. All right. But I'm sure it wasn't just the bracelet that made you want to sleep with them. So that's pretty funny. All right. Well, that was what is it? That's peacocking and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, those things work. PUA is just one of those skill sets you need to win. Yeah, you need to have skills, right? But you don't want the skills to be the end. The end game isn't the pickup. Put it like that. That's not what you want. All right. I'm flooded with single moms and I am not interested in single moms. Okay, well then don't date them. I bang them, but I do not see them as marriage or LTR material. Super depressing. Okay, when you are getting depressed about something like that, the problem is your standards are not being met. Okay, the problem is you have a set of ideas of how things should go, and that, you know, that set of ideas is not being met. All right. So we see this, not that this is you, Nick. Okay. But we see this with like the black pilled community, right? Guys get into hating women. They're mad. Like, well, women, you know, tend to be, let's say, manipulative or whatever. I don't know. We'll just use some broad paintbrush stroke, you know, or women are excessively emotional and not logical or something, right? I don't know. And then they're mad about it because why are they mad about that? I'm fine with women being emotional, right? I hope that she has emotional maturity and some self-control, but emotional is fine. Emotions are what make women women. Why am I not mad about that? Why is a black pill guy mad about that? It's because he has a different set of standards that don't fit reality. Okay. That's why his standards are not being met. And so, and he doesn't know why, and it doesn't fit the reality of the situation. And now he's sad about it. So in this case, yes, there are women out there that are not single moms. Okay. But you've boxed yourself into, I'm flooded with single moms and I can't, and I'm not interested in, all right, you're flooded with single moms. Who cares? I'm flooded with, you know, when I go out or do stuff, I'm flooded with all kinds of women I'm not interested in. You know what I mean? Well, lots of guys are flooded with women not interested in. How come guys who are successful with women aren't worried about the ones that are not interested in them? Well, it's because they've worked on the skills and the abilities to get the ones that they're interested in them. So if you're a guy who's single and you're out, let's say, on the town one evening with your boys, and you got, you know, 30 women that looked at you that evening, and you're only interested in 3 of them, and you got 1 or 2 number closes or meet closes with those 3, and you end up on a date the next week or 2, do you care about the other 27 that you didn't like, that were interested? No. So the problem is you're not pulling the girls that you would be more interested in. That's the issue. And so you need to think about that. And I don't know what it is you're doing, you know what I mean? But there's a reason for it, and it's a fixable reason. It's not like you're cursed, man. Only single moms will love you. You know, you have to go take care of some other dude's kids. No, that's not it at all. You know, there's just something missing here where you're not getting access to women that you would want to be with. And so you're ending up, here's another thing. Okay, I'm getting a little derailed. I wanted to mention opportunity cost is a big problem too. You're thinking, this goes back to PUA problem too, man. You're focusing on the short-term goal maybe of getting laid. So, and not that getting laid is wrong or bad. Okay. But here's the thing, man. Like, if you're wasting your time with lower value women or women you don't like just for short-term sexual needs, what's happening? It's an opportunity cost now. You're not leaving enough room to meet and connect with the women that would be good for you. You're not in a place to challenge yourself. That's another thing. If you're just getting laid all the time, but you don't like those women, you're still draining your balls. All right. So you're not having that push to challenge yourself, to fix some things, change some things about your game, your approach, your opportunities you're creating in order to get better women. You see what I mean? So you got to pare down. You got to really X out some of these women. Stop. You don't need to monk mode it, but I'm saying stop sleeping with women that you're not interested in. You know what I mean? Even if you go through a dry spell for a bit, that you have enough skills to get women. So now that'll teach you to hone those skills to find the ones that are better fit for you, the ones that you like. You're depressed because you're living below your standards right now, man. So let's take that to another level. Let's start getting above our standards. All right. That was a lot. Hopefully you're not mad at me. All right. This is a valuable video. I need to watch this. My LTR game was high before I unplugged. I see that pickup is causing a disconnect in me. Yes, sir, it is. Okay. And it did it for me too. It's an easy problem to solve, but we just have to have the mindset to solve it. Okay. And so that's what we want to do. You're fine though. I'm glad that you enjoyed. That's why I'm doing this video, man, right now, because so many guys are in your spot, Joseph. Do you remember my goofy scenario? Yeah, I do. I do remember your goofy scenario, but I don't think I have time to talk about it too much. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about negative shit on other people's channels. I'm okay with you guys putting in the comment. I'm not mad about it. I'm just not going to address it. It's not my focus. Thanks, brother. Hopefully you're doing well, man, with your podcast. All right. How can I ask a question Paul can answer, like a super chat? I don't know how to do it. Like, I'll have to figure out how to do super chats. I have enough clout on YouTube to do it, but I don't know how. So you can just ask the question. I'll just answer it. You know what I mean? If you put a question mark at the end, I'll know it's a question and not skip over your comment, and I'll be able to answer. Let's see. What's this last comment here? I'm glad I started looking at women as members of life instead of a number. Yes. If a dude bangs but can't get women to take care of his house, I don't see his value. I see her as wasted potential. To a degree, and I'm not saying that every guy needs a woman in his house taking care of her. You know what I mean? But yeah, just your quality of life is going to be so much better when you recognize that these are other human beings you're interacting with. That simple thing is going to improve the quality of your sex, quality of the lays, quality of everything goes up. The things that guys are seeking and searching for, right? The things that guys are looking for when they go to a pickup artist, they're going to go and transcend beyond those things. They're going to do better than those things. All right. And so again, this is not, I'll get last caveat, then I got to go because I got a client waiting. This is not a slam on guys out there doing PUA. This is not a slam on people out there who are teaching those skills. Okay. It's not a slam on the individuals who are instructing and teaching. They are putting out valuable information to people. Okay. Now, some of those guys are D-bags, and in my opinion, are doing it the wrong way. But there's plenty of guys out there that are doing good work and teaching men, and they're just focused on that skill set, right? Just like you can go to a gym and learn how to fight. That doesn't mean you're going to go bar fight people and steal their money all the time. You get what I'm saying? You can learn how to fight. You can use those fighting skills for good or for evil. It's the same thing with pickup skills and seduction skills. Okay. So I am not slamming on the pickup artists themselves. I am just giving you the warning, okay, for you as you pick up material and learn stuff that you learn from the right people, all right, for one, and you've used this as a measure to vet things out. If that guy seems like there's a lot of pathological personalities out there who have a platform who are teaching stuff like this. You need to avoid those personalities, and you need to avoid their false claims. Okay, because a lot of their successes are fabricated. Just to give you an idea, you know that this is the grift right now, right? You go to a PUA boot camp, all right? You spend like 5 G's or whatever they charge. You go to spend a weekend where some guy's gonna, and a couple coaches are gonna teach you boot camp, teach you how to get laid. Those guys collect your 5Gs. They collect maybe 5Gs. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4. Who knows? They collect your few $1,000s, and they collect a few $1,000s from, let's say, 5, a handful of other guys. And now you're in this boot camp. You're going to learn all these pickup skills. They make a phone call and they back page a couple of hookers. They spend equivalent of maybe $1,000 for like 2 hookers, right? That look hot to show up at a club or bar. That pickup artist says to the dude, hey, go say A, B, and C to this girl. He goes over there, says A, B, and C, and she goes, oh boy, I'm really interested. She pretends to be interested. They go bang in the PUA van. That was the thing back in the 90s and 2000s, was a van they would take girls to, or they take these girls somewhere, they bang them. All right. So maybe 2 out of the 5 in the clinic get laid, but get laid by hot girls. And now these guys come back going, wow, man, this stuff really works. And then the other guys that maybe didn't get laid or didn't pick up on anybody, like, well, but you didn't get it this weekend, but you see how this stuff works, right? So-and-so got this hot girl, right? Now, some of those guys will genuinely get, drunk 5s or 6s to sleep with them. That'll happen at some of these clinics. But that's what the grift is. Just so you know, that's me blowing the lid off that industry. I've never done that before, but that's me blowing the lid off that industry. And you have no idea to verify whether or not that pickup boot camp you're teaching or taking and spending money at is, the girls that say yes for a couple of those dudes in that weekend for social proof and for receipts. You've no idea that those aren't paid hookers. No idea. All right. Because they're going to act the way that they're going to act. And that's the grift, ladies and gentlemen. All right. That's a PUA. So are those skills working? Nah, it's BS. All right. Some of the skills do work that they'll teach, but that's the grift, right? If you want to go pay for hookers, just go pay for a hooker. You don't need to pay for a boot camp to do it. All right. Another thing is all these receipts, dudes showing hot girls that they're, infields, hot girls that they're girlfriends, infields. Just look at this hot girl I'm with, hookers. All right. Or paid talent. Maybe they're not having sex for money, but you find somebody on the street. Hey, I'll pay you $200 to let me get your phone number. Let's have this, let's have this conversation. Oh yeah, cool. No problem. Then he does a cold approach and pays the girl money. You have no idea if that pickup artist on YouTube showing you that stuff is actually a real receipt or some paid talent. You don't know that. And so there's the grift. There's the PUA grift, blowing it off. You got these losers out there talking about how they're going to blow the lid on all these scam artists. Oh, really? That's the scam. They didn't tell you about that scam, though, did they? Well, I'm telling you about it now. That's why I don't do those things. And it's not to say I have friends like Troy Francis, who works with James Tusk. They do a pickup boot camp. I don't think they're hiring hookers. I think they're doing real skills. I've worked with those guys, or at least talked with Troy on the side. And whether you like Troy or not, doesn't matter. Okay. He's a good, genuine person, and I don't see him paying for girls. A lot of these guys aren't doing that. They're not building fake receipts, but a lot of the guys in the PUA industry are building fake receipts. I can tell. It sticks out like a sore thumb to me, but it's not my job to sit here and do negative hit pieces on people. It's my job to help you guys. If you just think about whether or not the skills you're learning is designed to help you and be benevolent to other people and have real human connections or not, if you just use that as a vetting process, you'll end up staying away from these grifters and these losers. All right. And so that's my final piece on this. And yeah, you're right. You know what? Yeah, you're right. I am damn fired up about this. Because there's a lot of guys getting steered in the wrong direction and screwing themselves up. It's a whole industry of people pretending to help people, and they're not. They're screwing each other up. You know what I'm saying? And so let's not. All right, let's not do that. Let's be better men. Let's have good relationships with women and be better men. All right, and my women that are in the chat, you be better women too. All right, but yeah, no, I am fired up about that stuff, man. Actually, the whole drive to do, take down pieces, hit down pieces on people, and then showing fake receipts. You got to be freaking kidding me. It's amazing to me the people that will believe in this bullshit. But anyways, don't let that be you. Thank you guys for listening. I like it when I get fired up sometimes. It's fun, but it's because I care about what I'm doing. I care about you guys, and I want to make sure that, we're doing things better over here. All right, that's it. We're doing things better over here. All right. So thanks again, guys. You guys are awesome. And thanks for the support. Hit that like button. Until next time.